You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 148. If you are on Facebook and you're a business owner and you're wondering, is it worth it to really try and market my business on Facebook? Throw out all your preconceived notions. Today, I've invited a special friend of mine to come share what's working right now on Facebook. So let's get started.
Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Hey, are you a thought leader, creative entrepreneur, or change maker and want to magnify your impact, boost influence while creating a financial abundance? Stay tuned for today's inspiring episode with your host, Melanie Benson.
Hello there, inspired entrepreneurs and business leaders. It's your host, Melanie Benson, profit amplifier for expert-preneurs just like you. I am totally psyched for today's guest. Been friends with him a really, really long time. I've learned so much from him over the years, and he's doing some things on Facebook that I think can conquer one of the biggest problems I hear from a lot of our listeners, from a lot of people in the Amplify Mastermind and in our Amplify Your Success community, and that is, Melanie, I feel invisible. I feel passed over. I'm working really hard on all of my marketing, but people are not paying attention. And so listen to today's episode with the idea that there are some things you can do right in front of you that are totally free that can help you stand out. And my guest today is a genius at that. I also want to call your attention to the fact that we have just opened the doors to our 2019 Own Your Bold Influence Challenge. I'm super excited about this year's challenge. We have some really awesome things lined up, including a VIP experience that you do not want to miss out on, where I am bringing in several of my really talented, really wise friends who have built a business that positions them as the authority. They're credible, their credibility, and they are helping people all over the world with their gifts because they followed the formulas in the Own Your Bold Influence tools. So join us. It's totally free, but it is time constrained. So you have to join us at ownyourboldchallenge.com. We go live on November 4th, and once the challenge is complete, we shut the doors because there is so much that happens when you do it live that you just can't replicate on your own. So please follow along, take the challenge. You'll win prizes for posting your results. My real intention here is to help you integrate the little steps that can make a profound impact on your ability to stand out as a credible expert and authority that you already are, even if you don't feel it yet. All right, it's at ownyourboldchallenge.com. Now, let's get into today's episode. I'm super excited for today's conversation. We're going to dig into organic marketing and everybody's favorite platform, Facebook, how you can turn it into a never-ending source of high-end clients without even having to pay for advertising. And I've asked a really dear friend of mine to come join me in this conversation. He is a master at this. His name's Adam Urbanski. Maybe you've heard of him. He's known worldwide as the Millionaire Marketing Mentor and is the go-to guy for successful business-to-business coaches, consultants, expert-preneurs who want to better monetize their unique brilliance, quickly attract more clients, convert more high-value sales, and build an authority brand, growing a business that makes us bigger income and impact. Now, he uses something he calls the Revenue RevUp method. And Adam's clients multiply their revenues 2 to 4 times in just 90 days. Did you catch that? That is so amazing. He's built and sold his first 7-figure business in less than 10 years, starting with only $194 in his pocket and a limited ability to speak English. Today, he influences over 100,000 entrepreneurs through his company, the Marketing Mentors. And his programs, he helps his clients to transform their limiting, time-intensive businesses into highly leveraged, automated money-making machines that attract clients like crazy. Now, I have to say, Adam was probably my first friend in this industry. He was probably my first friend ever, but we'll just say he was my first friend in this industry. No, I'm just kidding. But I have known Adam a really, really long time. And Adam is the one person who what he taught me and I put into action help me get unstuck and unblocked and stop feeling broke and become one of the soaring business coaches in the industry at the time. So Adam, so glad you're here to share some more of your amazing wisdom and insight into the marketing.
Melanie, it's such a pleasure to be here, and I so appreciate your kind words about me. And yeah, we do go a few years back.
Yeah, just a couple, kind of like 18, somewhere around there. Yeah, it's funny to think sometimes, you were one of the first people I met in this industry, and I know we always like to share that story, but, you really were somebody who helped me unravel the mystery of marketing and make it something that didn't feel icky and make it fun for me. And that's one of the, I think, your unique gifts is you can help people make marketing fun.
Yeah, so such a great conversation at the beginning of our interview here, of our dialogue, because, I always encourage people that kind of have this icky feeling about marketing or sales. It's just to reframe how they look at it. So marketing, just put an equal sign and put education.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You essentially educate people on why they're experiencing certain things and educating them on how they can solve some of those problems, even without you, ideally. And then if they want to go deeper, then it's kind of like they get a little bit of a sample and they go, hey, what else you've got? But you're really educating them. It's an extension of what you already normally do for your clients. And you most likely love that work. So why wouldn't you love marketing? Why wouldn't you love sharing about this, right? And then selling is just the next step. And again, most of us grow up with really skewed images and preconceptions of what selling is and what it really isn't. And for most of us, it's very wrong images. So it's just changing that selling equals advising, or selling equals helping people make decisions. It's consulting.
Yeah, it's helping them solve a problem they don't want
Yeah.
to keep. Yeah. Well, I mean, we could talk about so many different things around marketing, right? Like you're just brilliant in so many different ways. But you've been doing something that I think it's kind of unlocking Facebook for people, because I think people are confused about Facebook. They don't really know how to use it anymore. Is it worth their time and energy? And I always keep my eyes on what you're doing, and we always stay connected. And like I recently started seeing what you've been doing with your organic Facebook marketing. Let's talk about what that means, organic Facebook marketing.
Essentially, it means you're using Facebook without paying for Facebook advertising. Right, using it to grow your business without giving Facebook any of your hard-earned dollars. So it takes a little bit of time, but frankly, even when you do paid advertising, you still have to manage your ads and put all your creativity into building that to begin with, right? And it's I actually look at it, I've been doing this for about the last 3 years exclusively. I have not emailed my list in 3 years, which that part, by the way, classified on the little check mark of really dumb and really stupid. But I essentially put all my eggs into that basket of organic Facebook marketing and mastered that media. And I did it for a specific reason. We can look back to this. But look, a decade and a half or 2 decades ago, Google Ads came on the scene, and it was like wild, wild west. It was, anybody that could throw $1 into a machine, it was fairly easy to get $2, $3, $4, $5, $10 back. If you look 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe 8, and up until about 2 years ago, Facebook ads were just like that. You could throw $1 into this and get multiples back, and it was really easy. I mean, a dummy could make it work. And those platforms are not so easy anymore. They got crowded, they got complex, they got very competitive. Organic presence on Facebook is still one of those things, kind of like Google and Facebook used to be. When you know how to do this, you put a little bit of effort and you get multiples back in terms of the return on your investment of time and energy that you put into this.
And I think that's what we're all looking for, right? But I think people are confused. Like, where's my audience? Where do I put my time and attention? And by the way, I love that you kind of doubled down on Facebook and you kind of walked away from the email marketing, but it is confusing based on the fact that you are such a brilliant person in email. But anyway, that's another conversation for another day. What if somebody is of the mind that maybe their audience isn't on Facebook?
Yeah, so I actually get this a lot. And I think what I want to do is tell you a little bit about, why I actually did this to begin with. But even before that, I'll tell you this. I've got a client right now. Funny enough, actually, through this Revenue RevUp method, came to us and brought in $1.3 million in 12 weeks. In the previous year, having earned like less than $100,000. So kind of a big thing. But here's the thing. She sells very high-end consulting to luxury, exotic property developers. So people that work in the Canary Islands or Caribbean and build those multi-million dollar properties, and investments are involved, and multiple shareholders. And guess where she finds her leads? On Facebook. And you would think these people are never like, how are they on Facebook? So you have to realize this. Even if you're targeting CEOs of Fortune 100 companies, they may not be on Facebook the same way that you and I are on Facebook, like actually using it for networking and connections. But they go on Facebook to connect with the friends and family. They do go on Facebook to see the nieces, nephews, and grandchildren, or daughters and sons, and catch up sometimes when they travel and look at the pictures. So they still show up on Facebook, and you have a tremendous opportunity when you do it the right way to engage them, because they still engage, they still create contact. So I don't even know how many billions of people are on Facebook. Every time someone says, I can't find my audience, I'm like, really? I find it really hard to believe. It's just, you told yourself that your audience is not there, and that's what you choose to believe. And that's fine. More room for those of us who go like, well, with 2.some billion people there, I think I can find a few of my clients in there.
Well, maybe it's one of those things about, if you don't know what you don't know, you won't do it, right? So
Exactly.
I'm hoping today will illuminate some possibility that people have shut down because they just didn't know.
Yeah. And so look, I had one of the largest emails. I still have that email. It's just kind of inactive at the moment because I'm not messaging them. But I looked at the trends of what's going on. Email effectiveness just completely died out. And, in no small way, thanks to all the internet marketers and coaches and consultants that use email so incessantly to market all the stuff. Like you open your email and it's all about urgencies and deadlines and buy this or last time. And so email lost its luster. And then I looked at the fact that people are confused by just an avalanche of information and not responding. And here's the thing, I was looking for, how do I really help my clients, and what do they have in place and what trips them up? So most of them, what they have in place is their naturally desire to connect and help other people, right? They're entrepreneurs in some way, connected to their businesses, in some way connected to really making a difference in the world, relationships improvement, business growth, health, and they don't mind connecting with people. They love this. They just want to do it in the right way. And then I looked at what they don't like. Is they were very confused by Facebook advertising. They were extremely confused by building complex funnels and trying to funnel hack the way to success, which no one could. And then, they were told to build complex webinar pathways and figure out how to now create presentations that sell and all, and they just couldn't do this. And I look, what's the fastest, simplest path to do this? And I realized that there's different segments of the market. Your market always has a layer of people that are ready to buy, and there's a layer of people that are just kind of entering that stage when they're researching and making decisions what to invest in next. And they're on Facebook. And if you just connect with them the right way, you can nearly go from hello to a sale in as little as a day or half a day with the right audience. And then your job is to cultivate that audience and continuously grow a group of people that are just like that. They're ready to say hello. And next thing you know, they're asking you, which credit card would you like me to pay with? Right? So I essentially took all my business and streamlined it to, let's keep it simple. Let's use what all my audience has in place. They have a passion for what they do. They have a passion for helping people. They're already on Facebook. They're just not using it the right way. So let's just give them a few simple strategies so they can use that time and energy they put into being on Facebook into actual source of leads, clients, and cash.
That sounds very sexy. Sign me up. Yes, please.
There you go.
How does this fit into Facebook groups? And let's just say, as we're recording today's episode, Facebook groups are kind of in a comeback, at least through Facebook's messaging, because they are really putting a lot of attention into developing the visibility of what happens in Facebook groups. And I know you've been doing some unique things with Facebook groups. So tell us a little bit about that.
This is such a fascinating conversation because as you asking me the question, I'm kind of searching back in my head, like, how did all this come together for me? And I think there's a book called Who's Got Your Back by Keith Ferrazzi, and he talks about the beginning of Weight Watchers. And it really started by a bunch of people coming together and just having conversations. And you notice that really helped people kind of move forward faster and stay more consistent. And then what comes to mind is there's, down here in Southern California, there's Mariners Church. And it's just one, but there are many mega churches. And when you look at those mega communities, it's not just like you've got one church and you go to and you belong to the church. Yes, you belong to the church, but I remember listening to how Mariners Church was built, and what was so brilliant, I forget the guy's name, was it Rick Warren? I think it was Rick Warren who built it, right? And what he was so brilliant that he created a community for everything. Like if you had a community of people, if you had two left hands, there was a subgroup of people with two left hands. If you showed up and you had green ears, there was a community of people with green ears. And if you were single but wanted to be married, there was a community for you. If you were married, wanted to be single, there was a group for you. So they all belonged somewhere. They belonged to the church overall, but they felt like it belonged to a smaller group. And that's what Facebook realized. With so many members, it started losing its luster. People can't keep up with the newsfeed too much. But you can go to a group and now you have a smaller community where you feel like you belong. Now, flip it to a business perspective. And moments ago, I said, look, there's always a group of people out there that you have some affinity with at any given moment. Those are the low-hanging fruit in business. Like every business has an opportunity to scoop up an additional layer of profits that's just there for the taking. They're not focusing on it. Problem is that once you take that, once you scoop up that lowest hanging fruit, what happens next? There's no more low-hanging fruit. So I use Facebook groups, I call it my secret garden, where you essentially incubate looky-loos, wannabes, your audience in general, into those ideal potential clients, into this low-hanging fruit, where essentially at any given time, when you are hungry and you want to eat in business, it simply means get leads and create sales. You just go out there and look at the few of those clients who are hanging there, this low-hanging fruit, and you scoop them up. So to me, Facebook group is the perfect place where you incubate this low-hanging fruit. You indoctrinate people, you introduce them to your ideas, you ingratiate yourself, and when you are ready, they're ready too.
You're making that sound really super easy.
It is.
I know there's got to be a strategy that's a little more involved.
There is, and we can dive deeper into this. But at the fundamental, at the very base of it, Melanie, it's like building friendships.
Yes.
For me, I rewired my entire business to go back to, what do I really care about? And I care about another human being. And all the tactics, all the strategies, all the little gimmicks, all of that is remotely secondary to the fact that I am there to make a difference in another person's life. And when I start with this, I look at how would I treat another person? How would I build a relationship with them? And some will last, some will not. Some will just kind of come together and go our separate ways. Some will stay together for a long time. How can I facilitate this, in an online way and maybe in an approach where I can do this one-to-many, but still feels like one-to-one?
Yeah. And I think you're really masterful at that. I mean,
Thank you.
I watched you do this.
I learned from you.
You did not. Well, we were a very good tag team. I do remember that. I think one of the things that gets mysterious for people, especially if they're still posting on their profiles or their pages, it's this idea of content. I think I watch people get so deflated. They're working so hard on their content. They're making these beautiful pictures. They're creating these thoughtful posts, and they're just, crickets happening afterwards. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about content and how people should be using it there.
Yeah. So, man, where do I start with this? Because we now have like different branches to visit. One is what kind of content. Then we have actually, how do you format this content? And then you have, what do you actually get some eyeballs on that content? How do you stoke that fire? And I actually use the terminology, like you stoke the fire. So let's talk a little, where do we want me to start? Like what would be most helpful? We can dive in all three a little bit, but
let's talk about the kind of content first, because I know it could be a really big subject, but I think this is where people get stuck the most is like, what should I be posting?
Perfect. So look, from this is now almost a decade ago when I first got on Facebook, actually almost accidentally. I was roped into this and within a few weeks realized, oh my God, there's such a huge potential here. To this day, from the very beginning, my idea was I'm on Facebook to do business. This isn't a relationship. This isn't a tool for me to keep up with my friends and family. This is a business building tool. So I always shared content that's of value to my ideal potential clients and my audience would find valuable, and they would communicate what my expertise is and who I could ideally help with. So that's the type of content you want to share, something that will highlight your expertise and communicate who you can help. So the best way you want to look at it is contents that showcase that you've got empathy for your audience, meaning you actually understand your audience. Our deepest desire is to be understood to begin with. So your content has to showcase, I get you. I get what you're going through. I see what you're struggling with. And then on the flip side of it, you've got to also give them some good advice, some good tips. And it's kind of a perfect balance between the two. A little bit of empathy, sometimes a little spank, kind of like you do with the kids, like don't go that's wrong. And then you give them, here's what you need to do instead. Here's what you got to do right. You want to post content that's evergreen. You want to post content that showcases your personality. If you're a joker, joke a little bit. If you're more serious, more how-to, then throw that, more how-to serious tonality of it. But definitely, I'm just looking for the right word here. Showcase your personality, because people will, that's the only thing that makes you different. People can get content, how-to tips many places, but the flavor of it, it's what makes you unique. So if it's boring, if it's just pure how-to info, people will leave. And the last thing I want to share with you is kind of this mix. If I go to someone's profile, and within the first 10 posts that I scroll through, I can't figure out what they do and who they do it with, I disengage. It's just, I can't figure out this person. I don't know who they are. And then if you want to use Facebook for business, let's just dive into a couple of mistakes. It's great if you love your pet. It's great if you love your children. It's great if you've got political or religious views. But if I go through your Facebook profile and the first 10 plus posts are all about pictures of your cat and dog and all about how you hate one party or another, and it's just, that's not a very friendly image to me. I just, whether I agree with you or disagree with you, I instantly go like, I don't like this flavor. And a lot of your audience will make that same decisions unconsciously, and they will disengage, right? So again, empathy, how to info, good mix of some personal stuff, some advice, and make sure that every time within the first 5 posts, ideally, there's at least a couple of posts that tell me what do you do, how you can help me, and who you do it for.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. And I love that you're bringing up this, like, okay, we may be using Facebook pages, but if your profile, which is where a lot of people are still going to go first, if it doesn't showcase something about who you are and the work you're doing, like, it's super easy to just go next, especially if you're the person reaching out to someone more influential or you're doing the reach out. Like when people do that, and it's like, there's nothing on your profile that tells me why we're supposed to connect. Yeah, big miss there.
Yep.
We've been teasing this idea of organic Facebook marketing, organically, being able to build up leads and connections and not having to pay for advertising. Maybe we could dial into that a little bit more. Like, what does that really look like?
Mm-hmm. So kind of back to stoking the fire a little bit, right? Because if you've done this for a while, if you have a little momentum, if you've built connections on your personal profile and you build them from the perspective of I'm growing my business and the business connections, then you've got a little bit of a head start. If you're just looking into this and you go, you've got 100 friends and that's your beginning, great. What you want to do is look at the 100 friends that you have. Are any of them clients? Are any of them ideal clients? So birds of a feather flock together. So you start looking at who do they hang out with? Who are they friends with? You start looking at where does your ideal audience hang out on Facebook. So chances are they in other people's Facebook group, in other people groups, in other communities. So to start with, you've got to go and find places where you can cultivate your audience. If you don't have enough following to start with, you need to go and build that following somewhere, somehow. By the way, I want to be very careful because the name of the game isn't build a following. The name of the game is get clients, get cash. Right? So this isn't some sort of long-winded method that you've got to build an audience for a year before you see a penny. In my case, I'm looking at how do we help clients start building connections and get cash in the door like within the first week, like quickly. All right. But still, you have to go out and get this audience. So identify groups where you can be present, and some groups will be better than others. So you may want to sign up for 20 groups at a time and go in there a couple of times and check out what's going on, what kind of topics are discussed, who is the primary audience that engages. And if it makes sense, start engaging. And if it doesn't make sense, disengage from the group. And identify probably 5 to 10 of such communities where you can build your presence, where you can build this authority presence of being empathetic and sharing good, valuable how-to information, right? So that's to begin with. That's where you get your audience. And I forgot what was your original question. I kind of went off on a tangent here.
Yeah, well, just like maybe digging a little bit deeper into how we go from the idea of organic Facebook marketing to actually doing that.
So,
stoking the fire.
Yeah, stoking the fire. You reach out, you start building a little bit of following. So you start reaching out, people start friending you, and now you have some eyeballs. So when you post things, people will see it. So look, here's the things. What most audiences will engage with, I kind of use a multi-step process. What most people will engage with is information that they're passionate about. So it may be a rant, but be careful. Don't go into political rants and don't go about rants about people. Instead, rant about ideas and behaviors. So for example, I would post a rant like, hey, this is really annoying. Someone sends me a friend invite, and then I accept, and then I send them a message, and they never message me back. Like, what gives? Like, you either want to be connected or you don't want to be connected. Make up your mind. So immediately, lots of people will start chiming in, even those that I don't know, and go like, oh, yeah, this is really annoying. Oh, yeah, I've been guilty of this. So people will be on both sides, right? What happens is now I have conversation, and what's very important for me that when this conversation starts, I go and start engaging. So we kind of create the ladder of communications in the comments. This essentially lets Facebook know something is going on here in this post. People are engaging. There's some information that this audience wants to see. And now they start seeing this, sharing this post to more people that are connected with you, and also to some of the people that are not connected with you, but friends of your friends. Now, here's another thing, like how we can deepen this. When someone makes a comment, or even if they just like that post, what you want to do is send them a message, a direct message. And the message can be as simple as like, hey, Mel, I noticed you liked my latest post. Thanks, I appreciate this. Or even simpler, like, hey, Mel, thanks for liking my last post. Nothing else, no call to action, no, hey, please join my group, or here's my latest report, you got to download. Just simply acknowledging another human being. Hey, I noticed you were there and looked at it. Thank you, I appreciate you. Now, the magic behind this is that now Facebook says, hey, these two folks are connected. So the next handful of posts you will make, that person will actually get to see. So now the next post on Facebook, now this one you just made some sort of rant, some sort of funny story. People engaged, they liked, they left, they hated. Now the next one, you have built some momentum, you stoked that fire, and you want to use that flame to roast the next meal. So the next meal is you make a post that essentially says, hey, I've been helping my clients do XYZ, and I just outlined this XYZ process in a 3-page report. Would you like to have it? Just let me know here and I'll send it to you. All right, or just say free report, or give it to me, or whatever. Now, Facebook is changing some of those rules and kind of baiting people to respond, but as of right now, it's still actually working brilliantly. So again, what happens is people are commenting. There are more comments, the more Facebook says, hey, there's something going on. Let's show it to more people. And it's organically starting to boost your visibility of that post. And then kind of a looped circle, because you go back and you can go to a few of those groups you are active in and say, hey, I just announced the free report. It's on my page if you want to go look at it, on my profile. Again, in some groups you can do this, in some other groups you can't. So you got to follow the rules of the territory you are in. But at the same time, you keep building the following, you keep increasing the number of people that you are friends with or who follow you. And then every time you do the same maneuver, kind of spark the fire, stoke the fire, roast the next meal on the fire you just started. And you just keep repeating the same process. It gets bigger and bigger, and you get better and better because you start figuring out what actually works, what kind of posts resonate with my audience, what doesn't, and what's a good mix. Should I do kind of, jab, hook, or whatever Gary Vaynerchuk called it? What's the thing that actually resonates with you the most? How often do you want to do this? But it sounds very complex, but in reality, it's a very simple process to deploy.
Yeah, I love this. It is really simple, actually, and it's just paying attention to what people are responding to and not just putting out stuff to put stuff out, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least in my case, I'm very strategic. So if anything, the most complicated part is don't just wake up in the morning and go like, oh, I've got this brilliant idea. Think strategically about what do you want to do. So, I want to share one more thing. I know we're up against the clock here.
No, it's fine.
But this is important. Think strategically about your content. So if you were to draw a line going from left to right, and on the left is the starting point, and on the end, there is obviously the end of a journey. And about 3/4 into the journey, what I want you to do is put an X on that line, and that is a buying point. So your audience starts at point A, they want to get to point Z, and X is where they engage with you, where they buy from you to help them go complete the journey. So now you want to ask yourself, where are they at the beginning? What do they think about themselves? What do they think about you? What do they think about your product and your offer and your system? And what do they need to think about themselves and about you and your offer and your product and your system in order to make a buying decision? So I'll give you a very simple situation. Someone, consultant, is thinking, well, I'm in this very weird niche and I just got started. And in my niche, people don't pay a lot of money for what I do. And I'm brand new. No one knows of me. I don't have a fancy website. And I don't have a big list. So I've got to start somewhere, charging just a little bit less because, I can't charge a lot yet. I'm just getting started. If that's the thinking, they will never engage in my program, which says, hey, let's charge the most you can. And you can command big fees for your programs and services and make a lot more money this way, right? Their thought process isn't there. So what do I need to share with them in terms of my content to start making them think, wow, I don't have to be in business for 10 years to command more money. In every audience, there are people that will actually be better clients if I charged more. I actually want to charge more. I can do this. Now, who can I hire to help me figure this out, right? And my posts strategically over a period of time need to help an audience get from this beginning thinking process to this buying thinking process. And it's essentially you incubating your prospects. And you can do this in as little as one post, or they can be reading dozens of your posts. So there's a mix of ideas in everything that you share online.
Yeah, and you're so brilliant at it. I can watch your posts and go, oh yeah, okay, I see he's ramping something up here. And I just know you really well, but you're very brilliant at how you craft
Stop
your
outing
posts.
me like this, dang it. My trade secrets.
Oh, it's good though. It's good stuff. I mean, this is what you need. You need people to mentor you when this is not your area of expertise, right? Like you have your brain works in a very specific way. Like you see how to move people through that education process. And I think you're one of the most brilliant people at teaching other people how to do it. So this is going to be really, really good stuff for everyone listening in today. So before we wrap this topic up, and I know we're hitting high notes. I mean, we could probably do a whole training, which you actually probably have a whole training on this. But I know that people make mistakes on Facebook that are probably costing them their ideal client's interest, right? Like it's disassociating that person before they've had a chance to really kind of get connected. Do you have a couple that you want to point out today?
Sure. So I'm trying to think.
Besides doing the political posts.
Yeah, aside from the political posts. And look, I am in we all owe a debt of gratitude to people that are politically active, right? If we all disengage, will be a total chaos. So, but you've got to realize that if you use it for business, you've got to make a decision. And it's not to say that you cannot completely share your political views, but do it in a way that doesn't alienate people. Do it in a way that
Yeah.
encourages comfort. And there are some people that do it very, very well and very elegantly. But most posts, unfortunately, have a tendency to disintegrate into mud fights, and they're
Yeah.
not doing you any favor. So political posts definitely proceed with caution. But look, the biggest mistake by far for me is people who want to use Facebook to build business, but it's like, well, I want to be private, and they make the profile private. And
Mm-hmm.
then they reach out and want to friend you, and you go to friend them, and it's so private you can't even see the profile picture. I'm like, well, who am I friending? Like, who are you? I don't know anything about you. Why would I accept your friend request? So make sure that, and there's ways to customize the level of privacy on your profile where only certain posts are open for public. But when I go to your profile, I should see a picture, that I should see a brief description that kind of gives me a flavor of who you are, maybe what you do. And I should be able to see a handful of posts that are fresher than from 2006. All right. Something latest, again, tells me what do you do, who you do it for, kind of who you are as a human being and what do you do for a living, so I can make an evaluation. Do I want to connect with this person or not? So that's one big mistake. Another one is doing everything the way Facebook gives you as an option. So for example, I would go to someone's profile and they have on the left-hand side, where there's like all different things about you. Essentially, it's everything, like every school they went to, and every relationships they've been in, and every business they worked for. It's like a resume. No one looks for a resume. Just shrink it down to the most relevant information, right? What do you currently do that's connected to why you on Facebook and why you in existence, and maybe a call to action, something that actually leads people to the next thing. So, and then maybe a couple of quick tips right away. Look, if you're using pictures like your personal profile picture and a banner, which every profile has, when people click on it, is there a link? Is there a message? Those are two most obvious places that no one connects a message to it. Some people even learn, they're like, click here to go to do something. It says on a banner. I click on a banner, it opens, the description that's completely blank. Well, you forgot to actually put the link. The link is where it takes me somewhere. So use that space. And here's another thing. On every profile, Facebook gives you this mix of featured photos. Again, it's on the left-hand side, and I believe it allows you 5 or 6. So people often will go like, here's my picture of you with someone famous, and here's this. You realize that you go to some profiles and it looks like they have an ad in there for something. It's very simple to do. Instead of using 5 pictures, I just use one, and Facebook features it prominently. And on mobile phones, it looks amazing because you go to someone's profile and you see the picture, and then the next thing is you see this advertising. You're like, how did they do this? Well, Facebook says use 5 pictures. They don't use 5, they use 1. And when you click on it, it has a description with a call to action. You can do it to give people free reports and take them onto your list. You can invite them to your Facebook group. If you do webinars, invite them to your webinar. Figure out what's the most important response you would like to create, you would like to get from your visitors, and use that space to induce that action.
I love that. This was worth the whole conversation with you. I just got one new really awesome action. I'm not doing that one, so I will now.
Awesome.
Adam, I know there are going to be people who are hungry to go into the next level with you. What would be a good resource they could start with that you offer?
Perfect. So if you are a business consultant, a coach, or professional selling to other businesses or entrepreneurs, come to my Facebook community. Where else would I invite you, right? My Facebook community, my secret garden, fastest path to cash.club. There are 3 questions we ask when you join, and if you don't answer them, we most likely will not let you in. And so here's another important tip. You see, in social media, pretty much from the day Facebook started and Twitter started, all the pundits always go like, well, how many followers do you have? And how big is your audience? And every time I go to my bank, I go like, I've got 1 million followers. And they go like, haha, so what? Do you have a deposit today? Right? And then I try to pay my mortgage and I go, hey, I've got, 1,000 people in my group. And they go, haha, do you have a check from me today? So I really don't care about numbers. I care about engagements and results. There are certain numbers that matter, and the rest of them don't. So same thing in our Facebook community. It's not about let's just bring in everybody that can fog up a mirror because it looks good when we have a large group. No, actually, because it hurts your community. So you want to hang out with people that actually show up for the reason. So if you focus on business growth, if you looking for strategies to charge more, attract more higher-end paid clients, then definitely join us at fastestpathtocash.club. It literally is like a membership site. I've got a boatload of tutorials in there that are very much in-depth, usually half an hour, 45 minutes going through different specific ideas. And they're all there for the taking. You just have to come and join us.
I love that. And it is a really awesome group. I love following along in that group and just even just sometimes just like seeing how you're moving people through the group process is worth gold. It's such a good group that you run.
Thank you.
So Adam, and by the way, I'll link that up in the show notes, fastestpathtocash.club, just in case that's too fast and you haven't written it down, just check your show notes. Adam, I like wrapping up these conversations, asking people a little bit more personal question. We all have had some interesting journey to get to where we are today. What was the boldest move you had to make to become what you are today?
Man, that is such a good question. And I'm always, when people ask me that, I'm always searching for like some big failure that I recovered from, but I have this selective memory. I forget the failures. I just remember the lessons. But, I would just say the thing that I do today, the big lesson is about 4 years ago, I looked at what I was selling and how I was selling it. And, we had a webinar funnel and we had salespeople that enrolled people into my coaching program. And there was a nice 5-figure check from every client. And I was doing phenomenally well with it. There was only one small issue. My clients weren't doing as phenomenally well following what I was sharing with them. Something was fundamentally broken. And a big scary decision was that I literally phased out over a course of 12 months all my programs. I shut down, I let go of my sales team. I turned off the ads. I shut down my webinar funnel. I put all my courses into the vault and took all my sales pages down. And I sat there for probably a good 9 months before I finally went, okay, I know what I want to do next with it. I know what will help my audience. And that was kind of scary because, again, for the spirit of time, it's like, well, there's nothing new under the sun. There's no, everybody puts out the same courses and everybody just, you teaches the same info and the results are dismal for most of the audience. So what needs to be done different or differently? And I didn't know, and just sitting in that not knowing, but meanwhile destroying what paid the bills for a time was pretty scary. It paid off today, but at the moment I admit, and I wish I could tell you it was the most brilliant move when I was in the process of it. It was just scary and I was lost and conflicted and confused. And, I just gave myself space to kind of go through it.
I remember that phase. And I really want to acknowledge it took a lot of courage to do that. And I think that's what bold moves are. Sometimes you have to trust that something's pulling you to this new direction and you won't know what it is, but you can't keep doing what you're doing now. And having the courage to turn everything off to create the space for it to come clear, that's freaking bold, my friend. That is bold. And it has paid off. And I think sometimes, I've had several reinventions in the last 20 years, but I think sometimes we have to be willing to reinvent to stay relevant. So thanks for sharing that story. That's powerful. And thanks for sharing all your great wisdom today. I want to encourage you as you're listening in. Adam's just hitting the high notes today. He is wise. I have turned to him multiple times over the years to help me think through how to do the next thing I want to do from the marketing side. And, he is one of the kindest, most thoughtful, and most talented marketers I know. So I hope you'll grab his offer to join him in his community at fastestpathtocash.club and check out what he's doing. If he gives you an opportunity to do the Revenue RevUp, I would highly recommend you do it. I am watching the people going through this program and they are freaking killing it. So I know some of the people that have been going through it and it's brilliant. So thanks, Adam. Thanks for joining me today.
I appreciate this, Melanie. I'm going to actually share one other nugget here. I know that you call it high notes, but I feel a little almost unsatisfied, or maybe our listeners will feel the same way, because I typically like to drive deeper into the strategic and tactical stuff, and we really stayed at a pretty high level. So a couple of things I want to share with you as you're listening and you may be kind of feeling like, I like these ideas, I don't know where to go with it. So number one, just start doing what you think you can with what you've got, right? We often have a tendency, I got to go and learn from someone. You didn't need to learn how to be a decent human being or a friend to someone. Just be a decent human being and a friend to your audience online, and watch the magic unfold, kind of going, pun intended, organically. And on the flip side, if you do decide to join my community, when you do, reach out, message to me, and just say, hey, here's what I'm looking for, this kind of info. And again, like I shared, we've got tons of tutorials, and we have them very well cataloged. So if you say, I'm looking for information on XYZ, I'll gladly shoot you a couple of links and give you 2 or 3, 30-minute tutorials. And I say, just go watch that. And it will probably tell you what you need to know to kind of take the first step. So those are 2 things. Do what you can with what you've got. And if you want deeper, come join us and we'll hook you up with some good tutorials.
Oh my gosh, it's so generous. Thank you, Adam. Take advantage of it, my friends. We'll be back next week with another exciting and wisdom-filled episode of Amplify Your Success podcast. This is Melanie Benson, your host. Thanks so much for listening in today. If you want to catch up on any of the show notes and circle back on any of the resources we shared in today's show, head on over to the show page at amplifyyoursuccesspodcast.com. And remember, you amplify your results faster when you're in a community of other people who are moving and shaking. Join us at amplifyyoursuccesscommunity.com. One last thing. When you've gained insight from today's episode, help us share that and inspire other people by heading over to iTunes, subscribing, and give it a review. iTunes absolutely loves seeing these reviews pop up, and it actually helps boost my show's visibility. So I would be super grateful for your reviews. And as always, I love seeing your shares of these episodes on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Come find me over there. Tag me in your shares. I'll give you some social media love right back. So see you next week for another inspiring episode of Amplify Your Success podcast.